We'll call the September 8th meeting to order. Roll call.
Councilmember Burke.
Here.
Councilmember Wilkinson.
Present.
Mayor Cooper.
Here.
Councilmember Carapiet. Here. For the record, Councilmember Mark is absent.
Okay. We are going to go into closed session. Is there any public comment or question regarding the agenda tonight?
There are no public present.
Okay, great. Then we'll move into closed session and be back at 5:30. Thank you. No singing. No happiness, can't dance. Maybe there's a little change in the room. Okay. Yeah. Okay, are we ready, Beth? All right. I will reconvene from the closed session and announce that there was no decisions made, and reconvene open session, no actions taken. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Okay, city council reports.
I have a report.
Okay,
So I want to talk about Be Ready Belvedere. Build to Go Back event on October 10th from 5 to 6 at Community Park. It's going to take place. Oh, sorry. I'll do that again. I want to report on Be Ready Belvedere Build a Go Bag event on October 10th between 5 and 6 at Community Park. And it will be right before the Belvedere Homemade Film Festival. So it will allow citizens to come down early, get a go bag, learn about emergency preparedness a little bit, and be ready to enjoy the film festival. Part of the event is Build a Go Bag, and the Belvedere Community Foundation has generously sponsored our entire event. And so we want to send our great gratitude to them for supporting the city. They totally believed in our process of making citizens aware of how they need to take care of themselves in a emergency situation. So this is our first event. And so we're going to be giving away a backpack for free. And it's a nice big backpack. It has our city logo and it has Go Bag. So it will discourage people from using it for any other purpose than for a Go Bag, especially in the community. And we will have certain donated items that will be able to go inside, and then they will learn about other items that they personally are responsible for to add to their go bag, so they're prepared in case there is an evacuation emergency, that they will have a go bag ready to go with all their necessities in order to survive away from their home. And so I just hope that everyone gets the information out that this is a event for the community.
okay.
Any questions? Any comments?
No.
And and we're going to have banners going up to promote the event next week. And that's my report.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a very brief update on our Yellow Bus program, which school started about 3 weeks ago. It's incredibly well sold this year, and a lot of the routes are completely sold out, including the Belvedere routes. We added a 6th bus this year to experiment with 2 new additions, which was to allow a bus program, express bus program for St. Hilary's School, And then that bus was also going to do a aftercare run. The St. Hilary's program, to be honest, has been pretty disappointing. There aren't a lot of riders, but the aftercare program is already pretty busy. And this would be helpful for families from Belvedere who have kids doing aftercare ranch activities at Bel Air, because they could take a bus all the way back down to Reed. So community members should definitely sign up for that. And we will this year actually be trying to analyze data to see the impacts on traffic of these different programs, because these are both pilot programs and we won't be running them again unless we can show a meaningful impact on traffic. But definitely the aftercare, which is really the sort of 4 to 5 window where we have so much traffic, where we're getting 30 to 40 kids on some days on those buses. And so that we're hoping will have a meaningful impact. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you know why the St. Hill, have you gotten any information why St. Hilary is so slow?
No, because we did a survey. The only reason we rolled this out is we did a survey of St. Hilary's families, and we had 50 families reporting that they anticipated taking this bus. And it's a bus that picks up from Sausalito, and then from next to the highway there on the frontage road, and then goes directly to St. Hilary's and in reverse in the afternoon. And so with all of that anticipated interest, it made a lot of sense. And in reality, we have like 10 kids riding, and sometimes that means just 2 because they have other activities. So financially, that isn't something that's sustainable. So we'll definitely be doing more outreach to families at St. Hilary's. But there is a way next year that we might look at alternative ways to use that 6th bus and not run this route again unless we can get more ridership. It doesn't make sense to do it. But the aftercare, it's chaos. And I actually rode the bus one day, so I know that, because you get lots of 4-year-olds who don't know how to put seatbelts on or behave. But it's already shown a lot of pickup. It's a really useful program for families, particularly working parents who live in Corte Madera. They were having to drive all the way into Tiburon and back again, and now they can just wait for their kid in Corte Madera. So it's a great asset for those families, and we're just trying to promote it more and more so that we can get a very high level of ridership.
Okay, I had kind of a busy month last month. One of the highlights for me was attending the Parks Open Space Lane Committee meeting in August. And Tony isn't here, so I'm going to steal his thunder. I just want to say that one of the greatest things about that committee is how closely they work with our public works staff they come up with many great projects and ideas, but it's the public works staff that brings everything to reality. So they work really well together. And the first exciting news, in case you don't know, is Park Lane is open and almost finished. So please go visit, rest on the new bench, get views of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a little bit rough looking, but landscaping will come. The railings will be painted, and some of the trees blocking some of the view are going to be trimmed. So it'll come together. We have sunscreen dispensers in the public restrooms down below near the park. This project was brought to the committee as a student project, and there's a grant that funds the replacement sunscreen, I think, for a year. And so we'll see how that's kind of a pilot project for the year. Our recycling bins in Community Park from painted bins have been updated with new artwork from Bel Air and Del Mar students. A water fountain was donated by Joan and Don Beacons, and it's going to be added to the Belvedere Land Company Park right across from the Yacht Club. The Beacons are really excited, and so is everyone on the committee, and the committee approved the plaque that will go on that honoring the Beacons family. We heard from Adam Gavser about an annual fall coastal cleanup on September 21st, and you'll be reading more of that in the Breeze. I also attended last Friday the 30th anniversary celebration of the Belvedere Tiburon Library, and I presented a mayor's proclamation highlighting the immense value the library gives to our community. And I really want to thank our clerk, Beth Hayner, for all her help. She created a beautiful, beautiful proclamation, helped me write it and then turned it into something that the library director, Crystal Duran, was really appreciative of our efforts. So thank you so much, Beth. And finally, in keeping with the council's interest in emergency preparedness, I attended the Ember Stomp on Saturday, and it was really amazing. I gathered lots of information that I'm going to share with Be Ready Belvedere and also with the community at our October 10th Go Bag giveaway. So that's all I have. It's enough. Anybody have any questions or comments on council reports? Okay, great. Let's go to the city manager report.
Great. Well, thank you, Mayor Cooper. I just have a couple of quick updates. First, I wanted to highlight that Belvedere has upgraded its license plate recognition cameras to the Flock safety system, which is now widely used across the Bay Area. This new platform improves accuracy, works better in all weather conditions, and it integrates directly with our surrounding neighbors and agencies. So what that means is our police can receive real-time alerts on stolen vehicles and other wanted suspects. We can also share information seamlessly between neighboring police departments to help solve crimes faster. Overall, this update translates, I think, into a stronger deterrent for criminal activity and a more effective tool for keeping Belvedere safe. So I do want to thank Chief Wu for taking the time to upgrade the system. And of course, you on City Council for approving the budget earlier this year. And then my only other update is just on the topic of Mallard Point. There's been a series of meetings with city staff and the developers team over the last month. The first meeting included planning, building, and our engineering team, along with the Mallard folks, to go over the comments found in the city's incompleteness letter. Most of the questions were engineering related in that meeting. The second meeting consisted of planning staff meeting with the Mallard team to address a number of planning commission conditions. Those were related to the relocation consultants and things like the width of the fire lane, traffic calming, landscape and irrigation plans, the postmaster contact, and the affordable housing agreement. A third meeting consisted of planning and fire and the Mallard team to discuss the width of the road and other approved design features related to safety and access. Mallard has indicated that they are close to resubmitting within the next 2 weeks, and we will, of course, publish those documents on the city's website once we have them. And that's all I have right now. Happy to take questions.
Does anyone have any questions for the city manager? I have one just to clarify. It sounds like there've been a lot of meetings with Mallard Point developers. And I think what you said is they were all answering the questions or discussing the feedback from the city. So does that mean no decisions were made, or this was information for them to be able to resubmit?
I think it's the latter, and I'm sure Rebecca can fill in the details there if you'd like.
It's definitely the latter, it's questions like, can the landscape plan be deferred to middle? Things of that nature, and sort of not negotiating, but sort of discussing our comments and the timing of when they need to resubmit.
Okay,
In terms of permit issuance.
great.
So there
thank
were
you.
no decisions made.
Right.
It's all based on the conditions of approval.
Okay, thank you. And then Robert, I know you forgot one important thing to discuss, which is the city council chat this Thursday.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yes, please take it away.
So 5 p.m. this Thursday, myself and Councilmember Burke will be up being hosted by a resident up on the top of the island. We'll be discussing a variety of topics. The community is of course invited. We have information on the city's website, and you can sign up and RSVP for that event by contacting Beth Hayner. But it is open to the public, and we hope you can make it. Kevin, anything to add?
Nothing to add. It'll be a very exciting event, so I encourage you all to come. I'm actually looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. No, can't come. Okay. Are there any questions or comments from anyone here or on Zoom?
There are none.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for the report. With that, we will move to the consent calendar. The consent calendar consists of items that are considered to be non-controversial unless any item is specifically removed by any member of the council, staff, or public. The consent calendar will be adopted by one motion. Council will take public comment on all items on the consent calendar when the calendar is called. Do any city council members have a question on any item? Or want to pull any item? No, okay. We have one additional comment on item 8H, which regards our second reading of the ADU ordinance, and then I would like to pull 8I. So,
Mayor
Uh,
Cooper, if you don't mind me just briefly providing a little bit of background about 8H. I
Yes.
just want to note for the record and for the benefit of the public, the version of 8H that is being considered and likely approved by the council tonight does include one further change, one further clarification and correction regarding the treatment of covered patios and decks with respect to ADUs. You may recall this was a very detailed issue that we discussed last time around. And after receiving some very helpful feedback from Councilmember Carapiat, we just moved that to a different version, a different place in the ordinance. But basically, the idea there is that when an ADU is proposed, it should not include any covered decks or patios as part of the ADU itself for the purpose of ministerial approval. And so, no, it doesn't require pulling the item. The ordinance is ready to be approved tonight, but just did want to mention that for the record. Thank you, Mayor.
okay, thank you. In that case, can I please, may I please have a motion to adopt?
I move to adopt the.
Wait. No, I think he's here for preservation, right? Yeah, I think you're okay, right, Andy? Yeah, no, he's okay, he's okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
Thank
we-
you, though. It's
yeah.
always good to pay attention.
Yeah, we could always double check if you wish.
Yeah,
To
it's
see if
not-
there's any public comment.
Right, so any public comment on anything more on the ADU item or anything? Okay.
No.
Yeah, the consent calendar items. Okay, perfect.
Then I will ask for a motion to adopt items 8A through 8H on the consent.
I make a
calendar.
motion to adopt the consent calendar 8A through 8H, including the modifications mentioned by city councilors, legal counsel.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then I'm going to jump to 8I. And 8I is our response to the grand jury report, which we received in June and which I think is due about September 22nd, given the 90 days. So I'm hoping that the few items that I want to bring up won't impact our getting it to them on time, but I don't think it should. So let's see. I was contacted by someone about this, and so I'm adding in the comments, sort of combine mine and the residents. So on F1, it says, while the RENA numbers assigned to Belvedere were unprecedented and market forces, which is the first big paragraph. Well, it's 2/3 of the way down the page or halfway down the page. Anyway, I was curious to know if we wanted, instead of saying unprecedented, which doesn't mean that much, if we want to actually make it 10 times greater, which does seem very significant. I didn't know if that was anything that you'd be open to.
I think it's 100, I think it's 100%.
Oh, or 100%, whatever the number is. I think it, instead of just saying unprecedented, because we don't know what's coming in element number 7, and it could be even worse. So anyway, that was a thought there. And then under F2, our response says partially disagree, but then if you go to the final sentence, under F2, it says we respectfully disagree. So we kind of don't match. And I don't know if we want to change F2 to disagree, or we want to change the sentence to we respectfully partially disagree. It doesn't seem to match. And in that same sentence, it says, we respectfully disagree with the framing of this finding as it conflicts planning responsibility with market-driven housing production. Do you think it means conflates or conflicts? When I read it, I thought of conflates, but
I gave the same comment.
you what?
I gave the same comment.
Oh, okay. I think it means conflates there. Yeah. And then a little bit above that final sentence, the second paragraph on the top of the page where F3 is, it says the RENA is a planning requirement, not a production mandate. And then we go into the next paragraph. The housing element is intended to remove barriers, et cetera. It identifies available sites, adopts housing supportive policies and streamlines. And I thought it would be good to add as required by HCD, because I think the grand jury neglected to focus on the fact that so many of these things that all the cities have to do are actually required by HCD to do them, and it doesn't leave us a lot of leeway. Okay.
I have one comment
ahead.
before you, could you turn the page? Okay, so F3, the one question I had, it says the city acknowledges we're out of compliance with state housing laws. Are we still out of compliance?
Yeah, I looked
Yeah,
yesterday and it said out.
out.
Yeah,
Oh, with them.
but if I may, Councilmember Carapat, just responding to that comment. I think we may want to be a little bit more specific what we mean by out of compliance.
Yeah,
I think here staff is intended to refer to simply the certification of a housing element, but obviously there's many other housing laws that I don't
Right,
think we're out of compliance
exactly.
with. So we may just want to be specify the compliance issues really just with the certification of the housing element.
And I guess they don't have a in-between category, because I sort of feel like we're in between, but we're close to
We're
compliance.
we're hopefully close
We're
if
very
that
close.
were a category.
Yeah, I circled that, but then I did go look and it said out, so I wasn't sure. Anything else on that page?
no, that's it.
Okay. On F5, we disagree with the finding. I guess this is just a comment. I think F5 would be a great job for the county board of supervisors to do, which is to help all the smaller communities deal with all the new laws that come up literally every 5 minutes from Sacramento on housing. And I think that would be a great, wonderful thing for them to help the smaller communities, especially now that they have much bigger staff. It would be terrific for them to help us there.
Well, I think
in-
every community, if they would do it for all the communities.
Yeah, all communities. They should put together a list of all the housing changes and send it out to us with analysis on how it impacts us. I don't know if you can make a suggestion back, but that would be mine. Under F6, a lot of these are just little edits. F6, we say the city of Belvedere cannot speak on behalf of the county and the other 10 Marin cities. But then in the next paragraph, we write the city of Belvedere along with the other 10 cities and towns. So we sort of say we're not going to speak for them. And then in our response, we speak for them. So I think you could just edit that little section out and just say the city of Belvedere complies with this requirement, because we don't know about the other communities. And on F9, it says the county of Marin has ministerial review on all housing elements sites. Do we mean the city of Belvedere there?
Yeah, it's city.
I think it's just a maybe a copy and paste or something, but I think it's supposed to say, this is about us. So every other response says City of Belvedere, City of Belvedere. Yeah, just to double check that one. And then I wasn't sure about R3. Again, it says the recommendation is already being implemented as outlined in the response to finding 7. The counties and cities and towns of Marin will continue to engage with developers. Do we mean the city of Belvedere will continue to, or do we mean the county? Anyway, that's just a
It's
question.
collective.
That's just something that maybe it popped up to me. And I don't know, I guess my general comment about this is that I was a little disappointed in their report. I felt like they focused on what all the cities and towns could do to encourage the housing that they admitted themselves will be very difficult to get built. And yet that every one of their recommendations were what the city and towns could do. And I also felt their recommendations did not align with their own findings. It would be more helpful if they addressed the high RENA numbers for the county, suggested that the County Board of Supervisors share all county data that each jurisdiction must add to the individual elements rather than making us do all the work on our own. It would be great if they had recommended that the state reduce the amount of required information in the housing element, which was a waste of time and money for all of us, and insist that the state legislature allot funding for jurisdictions to purchase local housing for workforce and staff. One of the most problematic issues with HCD that we face in Marin is their one-size-fits-all laws for everyone, no matter the size of the community or amount of land. And now the grand jury is doing the same thing without regard for the individual differences with statements such as all Marin cities and towns should. And I think actually that 5 of 6 of the recommendations they make are already required by HCD. So we don't exactly have any choice in them anyway. So that's my statement on that. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this item? No, in that
No.
case, oh, sorry. Was there anyone? Okay. May I have a motion to adopt? Well, first of all, what did you think, Robert? You'll look at all these and decide which ones apply or which ones don't apply.
Yeah, we heard the recommendations. We'll double check those and make, yeah, that's.
So in the motion to adopt, would we just say with recommendations
With
and edits?
recommendation, recommended edits, yeah.
Okay,
So I think quite a number of us have given feedback to Rebecca directly as well before the meeting. So I guess it's just a case of integrating all
Yeah.
the various comments.
okay, so how about a motion? It says all that.
I make a motion, I make a motion to approve consent calendar 8I with the recommendations and suggestions that were verbally and written to staff prior to the meeting and verbally at the meeting.
Second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we will move on to our public hearing item 9A, the introduction of first reading of an ordinance amending chapter 21.30 to the Belvedere Municipal Code, establishing procedures for removal of historic designation of properties. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, good evening, Mayor Cooper and council members. The item for you tonight includes the introduction and first reading of an ordinance adding chapter 21.30 to the Belvedere Municipal Code in reference to the removal of historic designation. On August 11th, 2025, staff presented the council with an overview of city's historic designation framework, focusing on the absence of any process for the removal of historic designation. Following the city's discontinuance of its Mills Act program in 2024, staff received an inquiry from a property owner who wishes to be removed from the property's historic designation, to remove the historic designation from the property, excuse me, in part because the tax benefits once associated with the designation are no longer available. Staff has prepared a proposed new chapter, removal of historic designation, which provides a structured and transparent process for owners of historically designated properties to apply for removal. This process ensures the removal decisions are deliberative, consistent, and equitable, balancing property owners' desires with the city's interest in protecting historically significant resources. In addition to the general framework, the ordinance proposes an expedited process for certain property owners. Specifically, in the staff report, it states owners whose properties were designated as historic between May 1st, 2022 and May 1st, 2024 may request removal of that designation through a staff level ministerial review. After further review of the properties that have been designated historic fairly recently, staff is suggesting that the start date of the expedited process to be moved to June 1st, 2021, and the end date to remain the same, May 1st, 2024. The reason behind the movement of the date is that it provides a more equitable approach, as there are 2 homes that have received historic designation and applied for the Mills Act and did not receive the Mills Act benefits because the city discontinued it. The intent of this temporary expedited period is to give homeowners who are unable to participate in the Mills Act program after it was discontinued by the city an opportunity to remove the historic designation if they so choose. This streamlined process would not require review or approval by either the Historic Preservation Committee or the City Council. Again, it is only allowed for historic homes that are not participating in the Mills Act. And I am available for questions should you have any.
Okay, any of us have any questions on this item?
I do.
Okay.
So, I'm waiting for my computer to get up and running. So you have sent me a list of all the homes that were on the historic and when they went and how many points they had and everything else. So the moving of the state, does it change the 4 people at
Yeah.
the bottom?
Yes, it does. It adds 2 more homes in that time frame. One of those is under Mills Act. So just 1 more home would be eligible. And
Is that under Mills Act?
one of them is under Mills Act, one is not. And one, do you want the address?
Yeah,
It's 304 Golden Gate Avenue. They were designated historic.
is that
June-
Lacy?
Is that who?
Last name Lacy?
I don't have the owners. I didn't
Uh-huh.
break that.
Oh, no, it's the architect.
I can look it up really quickly though.
Oh, you have it.
And they were designated June 2021. They also applied for Mills Act and did not receive it. So it wouldn't be inclusive of that house as well. But Sally looks like maybe she has some more information.
No, it was, so you're saying anybody post June 1st, 2021 would be eligible for the expedited process?
Yes,
But as you said, one of them did receive Mills Act.
right. So
So
they
we-
wouldn't be eligible.
But how are you
Yeah.
going to rewrite the language? Then you're going to say both this time period and they cannot have received any Mills Act benefits?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
fine. Thank you.
Did that person ask to be added to the list?
No, but we thought that it would just be more equitable, given that those 2 properties both went through the same process of becoming designated historic and then applying for Mills Act and not receiving it because we discontinued the program.
Okay, and then there is a cost associated with somebody who comes in and wants to be removed from historic preservation? I mean, do we have a fee set up for this process, or do we have to establish a fee?
We do not have a fee. We have a fee for if somebody wants to be designated historic.
So then we should also be considering establishing a fee. So we have 2 things going on. I think that in my mind, it has to be separated. We're talking about people who are going to go through a lengthy process to remove themselves from historic preservation. And then we have this small group at the end that we're talking about a different process. So let's talk about the people that have to go through the long process. So basically, their process is going to be following pretty much what they had to do to become historic, except it's going to be in the reverse, and they're going to show why they shouldn't be historic.
Except it's -1 hearing because we're not requiring planning
Planning
commission.
Right. So, so then we need to establish a fee for that. Okay, and then we have this other process that, well, we're going to discuss, but let's just say it's expedited. They should also be paying a fee because no matter how you cut the cake here, their staff is going to be spending time doing this. And I think we're on a, Sally, correct me if I'm wrong, we're on a recovery kind of goal here.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll jump in there because I agree entirely that the people who are going through the long process should be charged, and I feel like they should be charged a full cost recovery rate rather than I think it's a 50% cost recovery rate we charge for people who are seeking historic designation because they're creating a community benefit. The reverse is not true, and so I think we should charge them at a full cost recovery rate, and I guess Rebecca needs to calculate what that will be and bring it back, presumably. For the expedited ones, again, I'm a little torn there because, again, these are people who applied for historic designation because they thought they could get this Mills Act benefit because they've been told they could, and now they can't, and they already paid to get historic designation. And it sounds like it's a very quick process to get them out. And so it'd be good to hear from Rebecca how much time that would likely take up from staff and whether that's something that's worth charging a fee for, or whether it's such a small amount of time it's not necessary.
I think the idea behind it is that it's not a lot of staff time, that they fill out an application, we take it in, we enter it into iWork. It's signed by both Robert and I. So I don't think there is a lot of staff time associated with it. I agree with the other process that there will be a lot of staff time and that, it's fair to have a fee for that one.
Well, I'm not giving my opinion. I'm just asking my questions now, right?
Sure, if I could just add a little bit just on the expedited process or potential expedited process, I should say. It would be a very, very minimal fee based on what Rebecca said. So again, we're sort of capped by what is the actual staff time and cost recovery. And at least in this iteration of the process, it'd be very, very tiny.
I think it would, and I'm sort of thinking about our design review exemptions, right? That you're exempt from design review, and we did start charging a fee for those, but we actually do for a re-roof spend time looking at the colors and the materials, sending emails back and forth. I think in this process, the intent is there's no questions, right? We're not spending time unless we're not spending time. If they fill out the full application, then we sign it and enter it into our system.
Okay, and then right now, and my last question is 21.30.110. Could you explain what that means? Because it's not.
If, say it comes to a house comes before you guys and you want to condition it that, even though we're removing the historic designation from this property, we really like that turret on the home, and we would, as a condition of approval, we're requiring that turret remains, or something that shows that the home is of a specific time period.
Okay, so not to pick on any particular project, but I'll pick on one just so I understand it. Let's take the old Christian Science Church, and we have the big
Spire.
spire, thank you. It's not historic. So, but let's say it was designated as storage and then they wanted to take it off historic. We would sit there and say, okay, we'll let you off historics, but we always want that spear there.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Although one caveat though, if it was one of these 5 homes or what is it, 5 or 6 homes? that might qualify for expedited? 5?
I think it's 5.
Okay, if it was one of these 5 homes, let's say the church was one of the 5 homes, you wouldn't have the opportunity to do that.
Right. No,
because-
I'm talking
well, but
about the ones that go
I
through
think you
the
raise a
full.
good point
Yeah.
that, so a house of significant note with significant elements of architectural detail could be undesignated without any oversight or any condition to maintain some of that historic significance for those expedited homes, because it's just going to be approved at staff level, and the staff is going to go through that process.
So let me bring up another question that Kevin just had me think of. So not to pick on a property, so let's pick on the land company. Is Andy still here?
Oh,
No.
no.
Oh, too bad. Okay, so let's pick on a land company building because it's easy. 83, 85, whatever, Beach Road. And they want to remove themselves from the historic preservation. And they do. And then let's say 5 years down the road, they come in and say, we want to do this project. Isn't it part of planning when they come in that they have to do a historic
Yeah, an
Report,
architectural, historic
architectural.
report.
and the planning commission would still be able to have some control over significant, if that was considered a significant Albert
Yes,
Farr
if it was
building?
considered significant under CEQA, so we would enter into the world of CEQA for any structure that's 50 years or older. So this one is, and they would produce a report, and it could be that we can't exempt it from CEQA because it does have historic significance. So yeah, it's kind of like a second bite at the apple.
Okay,
So Rebecca, the question there then is, do we need this 2130, 110 if you're saying there's a separate process for any home that's 50 years or more old in Belvedere that you automatically have to look at their historic elements or not?
Well, you can jump in here.
Yeah, if you don't mind. So I think what's provided under 110, the last section of the proposed ordinance, would give the city a little bit more flexibility. So CEQA would force you to examine the historic nature of the project and would add additional process, but doesn't necessarily give the city the ability to add a condition. And 110 would give you that extra ability to add a condition if the city council finds appropriate.
Okay, any other questions for staff? I just had one. My question is 21.30.070. I was wondering why this, which is, I mean, I understand the dates have changed to June 21 to May 2024. But it seems like putting something that's that small a time into the municipal code. Is there a reason why that wouldn't go into the APM, which is more flexible, and it's only for 5 homes and we're putting it into the municipal code? It seems like, and I also wondered, did anyone consider adding a time limit to that? So did they have unlimited time, those 5 homes, to come back? Or would you consider like a year, and once after a year has gone by, then that option is expired? And it just seemed, so I had 2 things on that. One, I wondered if you discussed a time limit, and why this. I know we're trying not to put more things in APM, but this particular thing seemed more appropriate for APM since it's.
From a user perspective, it's a lot easier to have everything in one document.
Okay.
Right. And so, say we get a new planner and they only look at this section of the code.
Okay.
Sometimes we just don't look at the APM.
Okay.
Right. So I think from a consistency perspective, it's much better to have in the municipal code. And I had not thought of a time frame for this. It's certainly something that can
we can
be
discuss.
discussed. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, are there any questions or comments from the public or on Zoom?
I see no hands raised.
Okay, great. Then we'll bring it back for discussion. Who would like to open up this discussion? Councilmember Burke?
Sure. I worked with staff on the report and then also on the code based on the agreement we had in our last city council meeting. And I'm comfortable with the process. The only thing though that I had discussed with staff, but I didn't propose it in the draft that I sent, was the expedited process. I'm still not in favor of an expedited process. I feel like we're making extra, or we're building our code to address one request. And I still think it's not a really difficult process for somebody to say, hey, you know what, I've changed my mind. I'd like to undesignate my historically significant home, to ask them to meet with the Historic Preservation Society and then have the application come to City Council for approval. Again, mainly because we had people go through this rigorous process to designate the home as significantly or historically significant. And I think in one case out of these 5 homes that would potentially go through this expedited process, I think 7 of the 9 criteria were met. And so that's a pretty high bar. And so I think, you know, through that rigorous process, everyone agreed that this is a really significant home from an architectural standpoint. So again, I think just to be equitable, I think, and to respect all of the hard work that both residents and the volunteers that are on all of the different committees is respected. I think that we just should say, if you want to be undesignated, just follow this process with no expedited accommodations. Other than that, I think everything's great.
Thank you. Anyone else for discussion? Councilmember Carapiet?
So, I agree with Kevin. I went back and read Title 21 today. And what was interesting is that the purpose of Title 21 is to preserve our history, and to preserve our history from an architectural stance, not just for today, but for the future. And I think that, I mean, I don't know if any of these other 5 people are going to come forward and say, I want to be removed, but we have one person who's interested. And I agree. I mean, there was historic preservation. They had to look at the survey. They had to go on site visits. They had review paperwork. Planning commission each planning commissioner put hours into reading the staff report and their report. And I don't know of any other city that I've been able to find that just allows people to back away from historic preservation. If their purpose was for the Mills Act and they weren't able to benefit from the Mills Act, I don't think there was a guarantee on historic preservation that you could have the Mills Act, depended on if it was available, depended on a lot of factors. So I don't know if somebody guaranteed these people they could get the Mills Act. So I agree with Kevin. I think they need to go through the same process. And if the majority of the council doesn't agree, then I would sit there and say that I don't know if I would do a expedited process. I think they need to go through a process. And I think the process needs to be a little bit more than just filing a form and having a sign off by staff. I think that if ultimately we go with something that's streamlined, I believe that it should be like a DRE, that the mayor also has to sign off on it. And that if they can't sign off on it, then they would also be able to have the process of going through the regular process to see if they could be removed in that fashion. I also believe that if we do go with an expedited process, that there should be a time limit on it. I mean, if somebody wants to get out of it because they thought they were going to get the Mills Act, or they feel that it's too cumbersome, they are given notice that they have a year to think about it. I mean, we can do December 31st, 2026, and they have a year to think about it. And if they want to do it, they do it in that year. Otherwise, they would have to go through the full process. I also believe that there should be a fee associated with this, because I think that I don't think it should be something as simple as just filling out a form saying I want out. I think they need to give us justification or explain exactly why they want. And if it was because I thought I was going to give the Mills Act and I'm not, and I don't want to be restricted that it may impact the value of my property, then they need to state that. And then, if they do that within a year, I think that would be a pretty legitimate reason. But I do think that there should be fees associated with it because I think it's going to take more than just come in and file a form and have it signed off on. I think this is too big of a item for the city. There's, as you read through the different sections of the code, if they want to make modifications, they can. They can even go beyond keeping everything original with approval by the historic preservation. If the property is destroyed 50% or more, it's automatically taken off the historic preservation. I mean, there's a lot in Title 21 that gives flexibility to these homeowners. So I personally agree with Kevin that they should have to go through the full process, but I could also do a more streamlined, but with a time limit, with fees and additional oversight. I also had on section 21.30.060, it goes, the Historic Preservation Commission may recommend removal of historic designation if any of the following apply. I think that the Historic Preservation must find that any of the following A through D apply in order to recommend the removal. Let's see. And then the sticky wicky for me a little bit is that if we do get somebody who has been receiving or had received the Mills Act, that they had that benefit of reduced property taxes. And of course, going forward, they would no longer have it. But they had the benefit of that, and it may been for a couple years, may not matter, but if somebody had the Mills Act for 10 or 15 or 20 years, that was a lot of money that the city missed out. And I think that if they did have the Mills Act, we need something for some kind of restitution to the city for removing them for all the past benefit.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else care to join in?
Yeah. So the first question, Rebecca, can you remind me how much we charge to get historic designation right now?
$796.
And so the fully loaded is about double that, so
Yeah.
about $1,600.
If I'm remembering when we did the fee schedule
Okay.
correctly.
And
It's
then
50%.
right now, in terms of the criteria we've lifted here for removal of historic designation, one of those is not that I thought I was going to qualify for the Mills Act and I didn't. That's not one of the criteria that would allow them to be removed. And so my question then is, if someone came forward and, as Kevin said, they met 7 of the 9 criteria, it'd be hard for them to say they didn't now meet 7 of the 9 criteria. And so we might not let them out. I mean, what happens if we say, well, no, you don't meet the exit criteria, you'll still have historic designation. And if these people are people who didn't benefit from the Mills Act, I would think their argument will be, well, people knocked on my door and told me I was going to qualify for these Mills Act benefits, and I didn't. And I paid $796, and now I'm paying $1,600 to exit, and you still won't let me out, so I'm going to sue you. So my question there to legal is, would they have grounds for a lawsuit there, because they would just argue that they've been spun a lie and they've paid for all these expenses and now they're locked into something which has depreciated their property value?
Well, at this time, I don't think I could evaluate that. I don't know what representations may or may not have been made to them to encourage them to apply.
Well, so
I don't know.
George Gunnar said at the last meeting, he absolutely acknowledged that there were members of historic preservation who went and actively lobbied to people whose houses they thought could qualify.
I don't think this would be the right arena to answer that question. But
Okay.
if you wish, I can provide you advice on the issue.
Yeah, because that would be a major concern for me in terms of being overly cumbersome. So I would still support an expedited process, because I just think that they're 2 entirely different treatments. But I agree with Pat that if this is the way the council wants to go, we should absolutely put a time limit on it and then remove it from the code after that, because then it's not relevant and it isn't confusing within the code. And so we could write to those 5 homeowners and tell them a limited window by which they could apply for this process. And honestly, I have no religion on how much that fee is for those people. It's less work. And so I guess you'd have to come up with a pricing, unless you want them to somehow jump through all of these hoops. But if there's an expedited process, the fee should reflect that. And I think we could absolutely strictly time limit that. It could be less than a year. It could be a very short period of time. I would absolutely support that. But I still think these 2 different categories should be treated differently. And I think we could find ourselves with a whole bunch of problems if we force people to remain that receive no benefits when they were actively marketed to by representatives of the city.
Okay, thank you. I think from my perspective that the historic homes are, help make Belvedere what it is, and are really, we're all very proud of the homes and how they add to the community and the city, and the history involved with them. And people certainly appreciate them and cherish them in a way. I think it's interesting that we do have an entire code on the historic preservation. I also went back and read the whole thing. I was very impressed with how detailed and long it is and how much thought has been put into it. So I'm having a little bit of a problem with the expedited. I didn't follow everything that Pat said about a softer exit, maybe not totally ministerial, but with something in there. I think it is a harder case to say, as noted by Councilmember Wilkinson, that it passed 7 of 9 criteria, but now all of a sudden, you want us to believe you're not historic anymore. And so I also am struggling with the expedited component of it. I don't think I have anything more to add really, except for one suggestion of an edit on 2130.050. It says, after the Director of Building and Planning accepts the application for removal, the Historic Preservation Committee shall review the application at its next regularly scheduled meeting. I think I would suggest taking out regularly and just have scheduled meeting. because I'm not sure that it's regular right now. So I don't want to promise something that's not there. But other than that, yeah, I would appreciate if someone else has something to add to the expedited.
I have another thought on that, which I could get comfortable with, is because I think essentially the intent is to protect the integrity of those historically designated homes and the architectural elements that people valued. So the 7 of the 9 or whatever it was that was identified. And so another way to deal with it is you could allow the expedited, and you could say, give everybody, notify them, give them 60 days, 90 days to do it or not. I mean, another way of handling it is that in the code or APM, I'm not sure where you would put this from a design review standpoint, is if a home was ever designated historically significant, it needs to go through design review. Any modifications to exterior or something along those lines. I mean, so you could require to ensure that that house was going to be carefully evaluated if anything was going to be done with it in the future, whether it's currently or formally designated historically significant, it would get that treatment. I
So
mean,
you're
that would be
saying in
another-
order to get at these other components about saving the significant.
Yeah, my only
components of
concern
that.
about the expedited is that if something was deemed so special,
Right,
then how do you just say, well, it's not really? We
Right.
made a mistake. I mean, we don't think it's that special, and we don't really care to be worried about maintaining that specialness. However, I mean, if money was truly the motivator that compelled some people to apply for historical designation, I mean, I care more about just ensuring that if anyone ever wants to change those elements, that it just requires our best effort to ensure that those things are done in a thoughtful way. And so just ensure that goes through design review. So if it is or ever was designated historic, then it needs to go through design review.
That seems cumbersome to keep track of just like 5 properties here.
Well, it would be any property on the list.
Oh, any
Because
property.
technically, any property could ask to be undesignated. Yeah, I mean, it's just some have an expedited way to do it, the others just go through a process, so.
Well, I also think that the strict process, not the expedited, the strict process is something that's going to be very difficult. I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, there was a big write-up of, I forget what city it was in, might have been San Francisco. No, it was in Oakland. And some historic building was allowed not to, which was like historical in all of Oakland's history, that they removed a historic preservation designation on a property. So I would think this process should be kind of tough. But I mean, and if they're still historic designated, that they would go through that process. I mean, I just think that once we let them go, we've let them go. We don't have, because that's in Title 21 now, that preserves those elements. They can change certain elements to more modern elements. That's allowed after it's been reviewed and it doesn't alter too much the look of the property. But once we let them out of historic, I think there's no design review in Title 20 that's going to do that. So the Planning Commission is going to have a hard time doing that.
Well, unless, I mean, you'd have to do it through CEQA, which is what you were saying, Rebecca. I mean, CEQA could trigger that, which would motivate the city to send it through design review.
Do we
Well,
want
it's
to
already,
burden?
CEQA is part of the design review process. So if it's a project, then it's subject to CEQA. But I'm just thinking through the design review suggestions. So as you guys all know, the city requires for design review for many things. So if you were a formerly designated historic home and you wanted to replace your windows, we would require design review. So there's very few things that don't require design review, which are window replacement, like for re-roof, painting the same color. 50% of your fence repair, reconstruction.
I would think what Pat mentioned as well, that administratively, if you're only talking about 5 houses and staff turnover, and then 20 years from now, one of these applies for something, who's going to remember that they were?
'Cause Nancy won't be here.
Yeah. So that feels like a cumbersome thing to maintain. I mean, one of the problems with the Mills Act that we had was that we just weren't maintaining all of the records properly because it's so few houses. And this is even fewer houses we're talking about here.
Well, I think part of the problem is some of these homes had 3 or 4 bullet points that they met. So they were sort of low-hanging fruit, if you want to call it. But we're talking about a project that really had 7 of the 9 criteria. I mean, it's really a historic home, and I think that's, you know, the bite here is, you know, this home or, you know, another significant historic home being removed. I mean, we're letting that history go if we allow them off the historic preservation list. Because I think that, I mean, we can't sit there and say you have to keep all the same elements, then they have the same restrictions they have in historic preservation. There's no reason for them to spend $1,600 to be removed because they're going to have the same restriction.
And if you are a historically designated structure, if you look in 21.08035, you can do maintenance, you can re-roof, you can do all of these things without design review, right?
Right.
Rebecca, we really have no idea whether, we only know that one of these 5 homes wants to be removed. We don't know that the others want to be, and they might very well want to stay.
Correct.
And we won't know that until we approach them, if we choose to approach them, because you adopt an expedited process and make it very short.
Correct.
Can we not use the word expedited? Can we use the word streamlined?
Sure.
I like streamlined better than expedited because it has different connotations. Streamline means there is a process they have to go through. Expedited means
Streamlined.
it's easy. You sign your name and you get it.
We could also, one option is not do anything tonight and send a letter to those 5 properties. Say, are you interested? Right? That could help inform a decision.
I think it would also be important, if we do want to make this a long process, for everybody to get a legal review of what our risks are there in relation to these homes that didn't receive Mills Act.
Okay.
But it isn't, I mean, that legal review doesn't just include those homes, because there are other homes that have been designated and never received Mills Act. So, I mean,
Yeah,
and even the ones that did, I mean, anyone can file a lawsuit. I mean, whether or not they'll be successful is another question, but it still can be, yeah.
I agree, but it's just they weren't marketed to, those ones that have been here for 20 plus years.
That
actively
again, I
bought.
mean, let's just be careful. That's hearsay. That's not, I mean, we don't know that for a fact.
We do.
Well, no,
Well,
actually, you
yeah.
don't. It's
Well, I
it's
think-
hearsay.
Well, Kevin, I think you've brought up the other point, excuse me for interrupting, brought up the point at our last meeting, is that the historic preservation is one process. And the Mills Act is a separate process. And so the Mills Act is done, it's over. And now we're just dealing with the historic preservation. So, you know, it's like if you make a bet and you think you're going to win and you end up not winning because your horse didn't come in, doesn't mean that, you know, you were promised the horse was going to win. So, you know, but I don't know. I don't know if someone promised them they could have the Mills Act. I don't know how they were marketed. But I think if we get an idea of these 5 people, then we know if we need to come up with a streamlined, or if we're just dealing with a one-off and how we want to deal with that one-off, because it's a very historic home.
So I guess I'm hearing that we don't have a strong decision. There's still some questions out there from the council, whether we want to go forward and check with the 5 homes that would fall into this, whether we don't want to do that. Does anyone have any strong sense of that?
Well, no, I feel like it's whether 1 or 5 raise their hands, you still, do you want to do
You wanna do
expedited
this
or not?
anyway,
I mean, it's like,
right.
so it kind of doesn't matter if it's 1 or 5. It's just
Right.
like, do we want to have a streamlined process for folks who didn't enjoy the benefit of the Mills Act or didn't enjoy participating in the Mills Act, who filed a historic designation application since June 1, all of those criteria. I mean, I care more about just ensuring that the city, and so therefore the staff, just keeps a careful eye on homes that either are or were designated historically significant, that we've gone through a very thorough vetting process and identified these homes as important architecturally. And so we should be sure that any changes or modifications are reviewed very carefully. They receive a different scrutiny than, a home that was built in 1992. Well, I guess it could be historically significant.
It's 50.
I mean, there are some beautiful modern homes, and there are Belvedere, so maybe you could argue those should be watched
I think
carefully as well.
I think we do have a consensus on the time limit idea added to, if we're doing the streamline, that it's not just open-ended. I think from what I heard, we all agree that there should be some limit. I'm
And
not
we
sure
can
what
say it
should be,
expired,
but-
that this section expires after that date, so it's not there forever.
What do you think is a reasonable time limit to reach people?
I think 60 days, 90 days. I think 30 is too short. A lot
Yeah,
of people don't
I
live here
agree.
full
90
time.
90
and don't.
sounds
I
good.
think
90
90 is a
sounds better.
reasonable amount of time.
Yeah,
That works.
okay.
So is it only this expedited thing that we're stumbling upon?
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
and is it something that maybe we should take that out? Or should we wait and do everything as a whole?
I can get comfortable with it if folks are, if anyone's on the margin and could, flip into the, let's include a streamlined process, I could get comfortable with it. But again, I mean, I'll go on the public record, and I know the staff is already very vigilant in their jobs, but I think if something was or is designated historically significant, we just need to be damn sure that we are carefully reviewing any proposed changes to it, so we don't ruin what we've already acknowledged is so important.
So maybe we need a little bit more time to throw that streamlined process around and come up with some kind of verbiage around oversight, future oversight.
For just those 5 homes, though, I mean, that seems,
That'll be hard to maintain.
I think also we are very vigilant and
Mhm.
you can't really, I tell people I can't sneeze here without going through design review, right? I mean, we are very heavy on
Yeah,
our design review
that's fair.
process. So I think that should provide some insurance to.
Nothing in here about fees either, correct? So we need to add a section about fees.
Yeah, and I think something in 2130-060 that says that you cannot be part of the Mills Act.
Right.
Right, so that's clear.
And can you bring back the cost recovery number on consent, or does that require a couple of readings? I can't remember for new fees.
So the recommendation would have the fee as part of the fee schedule as opposed to in the ordinance.
Mm.
And we can amend the
Mhm.
fee schedule by resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
So it would be a separate, somewhat
come
parallel
back.
track.
Okay. I guess, are we ready to,
So do we want to do a streamline instead of going back to these people?
streamline
in-
with a 90-day term.
With a 90-day
90-day
term
Yeah,
and a fee?
and a fee.
Okay, and
Reason.
an application
Yeah.
with a statement saying why they want out. I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask someone why they want to out. I think they're going to either say, I didn't get the Mills Act,
Well, that would be on the
or
form.
I made a mistake, or I want to change, I don't want it.
Yeah, but let's say they have to fill out the form. The form
Right,
would
we create a
require
form.
that type, the
Yeah,
information that you just
yeah,
suggested.
a form and a process and a review. And I think that it should be like a design review where the mayor also signs it, kind of like the chair. So staffs, city manager and mayor, because removing it from historic preservation should be considered a big deal.
Right, so this is for the streamlined process.
This
Mhm.
streamlined
Add with the
process.
mayor.
because the
City
other comes
manager,
to
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So it's revising or including in the form
Yeah.
a reason,
Yeah,
obviously, and then adding in the fee to the fee schedule for this.
So that's was my question.
Oh.
A fee for the streamlined and a fee for the regular.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
And the maximum that we can charge for both, whatever you calculate as being the fully
As-
loaded rate.
right.
and then the time limit would be added.
I mean, we've spent a
The
lot of
90
time here
days.
already.
And Kevin, would you like to continue in your role and review the form and feel
Sure.
like it has been representative
Sure.
of everything? Is that okay
Happy
That's
to do
great.
that.
to keep
Yes.
working with? Okay, that'd be
Yes.
great. Thank you.
And I have one more comment I forgot. I'm sorry.
Sorry, comments are closed.
No, it's not.
Hey, that's what I'm supposed to say.
I know. Well, you just gave
Well,
me the
then I won't,
assignment.
then I take back everything I'm about to say. I was going to thank Kevin for working on this ordinance.
All right, that comment's
I take it
allowed.
back.
Never mind, too little, too late.
Thank you. I
Yes.
know it's a
Right.
lot to dig into an ordinance and.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you,
No, Rebecca did
everyone,
all the
for
work.
this
Something like-
work. And I think, okay, so in that case, I think we've finally gotten there after a thorough
Sure.
but important discussion. And I would ask for a motion to approve.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
I just want to make sure we all understand where we are, but I believe the mayor is going to ask for a motion, which will explicate all of it. So please.
Okay, pressure's on. Well, this is only the first reading, right?
Correct.
Okay. Wow, it feels like we've been here a long time already. Okay, so we want to approve the first reading of ordinance adding chapter 21.30 to the Belvedere Municipal Code, establishing procedures for removal of historic designations. And in the amendments to it or conditions of it would be to add a fee structure for both becoming a fee line for becoming historic and for removal, the amount to be determined by the planning director, but at the maximum level, the 100% level. It would be to ensure that the form includes reasons why we would, the homeowner feels they must remove themselves or choosing to remove themselves. We want to add a 90-day time limit for this streamlined, we're changing the word streamlined. We want to add 90-day time limit for this streamlined process.
And have the mayor approve
Sorry.
and have the mayor added.
Oh, yes, and have the mayor added to the signing off on
So
the
moved.
form. Okay, so moved. Well done. Thanks. Second.
And I want to add that change in language on 060, which I'll send you, was just moving some words around.
So
They can't participate in the Mills Act.
And that they can't
Can't
have participated in the
That's right.
Mills Act.
Sorry, I forgot that one.
good. I'm
Right.
sorry, just if I could clarify a couple
Sure.
small pieces, my apologies. The fee, again, is not going to be in the ordinance.
Yep.
That'll be
No.
a separate track.
Yep.
Understood. Thank
In
you.
the fee schedule.
Correct. So that'll be a separate resolution. There'll be a separate amendment
Okay,
to the master
sorry.
fee schedule, so
Right.
not in the ordinance itself.
Right.
Just want to clarify. And the 90-day time limit, it is from the approval of the ordinance and its effective date.
That's
Okay,
it.
that
Which
will
is
be,
after the second reading.
right. But we are keeping the streamlined, not expedited approval. And even the statement of a reason for removal in the mayor's signature, it will still be streamlined
Correct.
and it will be granted and there will be no discretion. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay, second.
Second. Oh,
Okay.
is there more?
I don't know. Wait.
Wait a minute, I mean, you're saying it will be versus there's no discretion. I think it's if they decide.
Oh, there's always discretion,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Well,
so
I
if
guess,
the,
yeah, that's why I guess I'm a little bit.
if the head of planning and building decides that no, I mean, I think it needs to be approved. It's not automatic. I
It-
mean,
it should be
it doesn't say in this
discretion, not
language that it's
automatic.
with no, just you're automatically out. It's just they still have to apply and it needs to be approved. And so it could be not approved.
Okay, so thank you. So for the streamlined. approval-
Correct? I just want to make,
Well, I guess I'm just trying to clarify.
It's not how it's stated right now.
I'm sorry, what?
It's not how it's stated right now. If you read, she just says yes.
Where?
I don't know.
Upon completion of the required.
Well, I guess that's what we're trying to clarify.
What are you guys
Shall
talking about?
remove.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so.
I apologize. It does say shall remove. I mean.
It
so-
says shall remove.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, so thank you, council member. So I guess that was what I wanted to just confirm, even though we are adding more, I guess, an additional signatory, a little bit more explication on the form about the stated reason for removal, it is still a ministerial process for removal on the streamlined track.
Well, it's not really ministerial. They have to apply. I mean, chances are we're not going to turn them down. I mean, if these 5 houses were pretty much saying, but if,
Well,
I don't
it's- The way it's written right now, actually, they're right. It does say shall
Yes,
remove. So
it
just
does.
if you do this thing, you shall be removed. So it's
Correct.
not,
Right.
there's no decision-making process that's
Right.
happening.
Right.
It's just checking boxes.
It's, to me, it seems kind of like an exemption, right? That's a ministerial process. We do say, even though it's a ministerial process, you can't paint your house blue, right? The ministerial process is still subject to our design
Yeah.
review
I
standards.
guess that's fine.
So
I'm all right.
that's how I'm kind of seeing it, as a ministerial process, not a discretionary process. However, we can refer to our code.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's basically what we're saying with the streamline,
Yep.
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
that if you do this, we're going to let you out if you do it in 90 days.
Yeah.
And if they don't do it in 90 days, we're not going to be generous.
No, I think we should remove this from the ordinance.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
ordinance becomes null and void,
Yeah. we'll
or
come back
whatever
to you
legal
guys with
language.
The amendment.
Did you get a second? I'll get-
Yes, I got a second. Now I'm
Right.
going to say all in favor.
Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. With that, I will move to the open forum. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to briefly address the city council on any matter that does not appear on this agenda, but is within the city council's subject matter jurisdiction. Upon being recognized by the mayor, please limit your oral statement to no more than 3 minutes. Under the Brown Act, council members may not deliberate or take action on items not on tonight's agenda. Matters that appear to warrant a more lengthy presentation or council consideration may be placed on the agenda for further discussion at a later meeting. Is there anyone here who wishes to make a public comment? Anyone on Zoom?
Mayor Cooper, I see no hands raised.
Okay, in that case, our no other business this evening. I will adjourn the September 8th, 2025 council member meeting. Thank you, everyone. And I like starting at 5:30.
Yeah, same.